This stuff here, Yerushalmi Pesachim, in the article Odes for addition with Daf Lamed Hey Umrav, easy to find, bringing a new parak Tomei Nishchat, and in the Vilna that is Lamed Amid Beis, also bringing a new parak Tomei Nishchat. Okay, so the Mishnah says the Tomei Nishchat b'Shmona Memechza v'Karev Tesha Mechza. The Tomei Shemen Abayim every day is shechted 8.5 hours into the day, which would correspond on Equinox Day to 2:30 in the afternoon, 2.5 hours after Chatzos. V'Karev, not including daylight savings time, V'Karev Tesha Mechza, and would be then actually put at the top of the Mizbeach. It would be completed at Tesha Mechza 3:30 in the afternoon, 9.5 hours into the day. Erev Pesachim and Erev Pesach, in order to shech the Korban Pesach afterwards, in order to perform the Korban Pesach afterwards, so they do it an hour earlier. Nisha b'Shev Mechza be shechted at 7.5 hours, 1:30. Koshman Mechza be completed by 2:30. Ben b'chol ben b'Shabbos is with whether Erev Pesach came out on a weekday or on a Shabbos. Chal Erev Pesachim yos Erev Shabbos. But if Erev Pesach came out to be an Erev Shabbos, then you have to roast the Korban Pesach before Shabbos begins. So then you have to start even earlier. So then Nisha b'Sheish Mechza, Korban Tamid shechted at 12:30 p.m., 6.5 hours into the day. For Korban Sheva Mechza, it's completed by 1:30 p.m. For Pesach Achrov, and the Pesach comes after that. Says Marksi, B'zeh Asher Ta'aseh Mizbech. Korban completes the pasuk. Kvasim Neshanosh Shnaim Layom Tamid. This is the Korban Tamid. 2 lambs every day, constantly. So I might say that they could do anytime they want. 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Therefore the pasuk goes on and says, you do 1 in the morning, and the second one, right? That's what we're going to come to in a second. So I would say that, okay, the morning one should be brought in the morning as sun rises, and there's one of Ben Arbaim as the sun is setting. It's Dim Dume Chama as the Midam Dame. It's going silent. Tamulama Ben Arbaim. So it says Ben Arbaim. So what does Ben Arbaim means? It doesn't mean it's not literally as the sun is setting, right? But it's rather a different time. Because of a Gzera Shava. Nermakam Ben Arbaim, it says Ben Arbaim by Korban Tamid. Nermahalam Ben Arbaim, it also says Ben Arbaim by Korban Pesach. Ma Ben Arbaim Shem Malon, Mishesh Osu Malon. Just like by Korban Pesach, the Ben Arbaim doesn't mean towards nightfall, it means from 6 hours and beyond, which after Chatzos. Ben Arbaim Shem Markan, so to here, by Korban Tamid, it's Misheshos Malon. It's from 6 hours and beyond. You would be Korban Tamid anytime after Chatzos. So Machom Misamer Ben Arbaim Sheshos Malon. How do you know that Ben Arbaim Korban Pesach means from 6 hours and beyond? We do not have definite evidence for this. We find allusion to this. The pasuk in Miyot, Oilanu, woe to us, ki panayom, because the day has turned. Ki notut slowly arev, because the shadows of evening have begun. So as the Korban it says, ki notut slowly arev, tell marav, when the shade begin to incline towards the west, right, which is marav erev, right, they're connected. Mishesho Samalu Vukreso Erev, right? So therefore, when the shades begin to incline towards the west, that's the inclination towards the west, that's Erev. Ma'arev Shema, so Ma'arev Shema Allah Mishesho Samalon. So just like Erev there refers to 6 hours. Erev Shema Kan Mishesho Samalon. So to Erev here by Korban Pesach is 6 hours. Okay, so if that's the case, so the Yekosher Mishesho Samala. Let the Korban Pesach be kosher from 6 hours and beyond. Now, the Mechal Mind points out that the Korban Tamid is kosher, but the Evid, if you from 6 hours and beyond. And the question here is, the Korban Pesach also should be kosher from 6 hours and beyond. Why is the earliest time to do it 6.5 hours? You know what? I have to read inside make but I don't like that question. I'm not happy with that because the Gemara's answer doesn't really answer that. So the Gemara, I think the Gemara is asking a simple question: why do if it's a question from 6 hours, why don't we do it from 6 hours? Why do we wait till the middle of the afternoon to do the carbon tumid? So and the carbon Pesach. He says Ben Arbaim Ketzad. I'll tell you because the answer is Ben Arbaim. What does Ben Arbaim indicate? It means Chalek Ben Arbaim. Divide the area between the Aravim. Aravim, the first Erev is indeed 12, and the second Erev is sunset, right? So therefore, divide that time between the Erev and Erev. So the Teinu Shteshos Umechzel Fanav, you put 2.5 hours before it. Shteshos Umechzel Achav 2.5 hours after it. V'sha'achas Sukkah 1 hour in the middle, right? 2.5, and 1 hour in the middle for the engagement for the involvement of doing the carbon. So it's kind of like an asmachta, even though you're yotzei from 6 hours or 6.5 hours on, definitely 6.5, perhaps even from 6, as I mentioned before. We didn't discuss that yet, but because it says Bein Harabayim, we say, and even though really the pleasure shot could be, the entire afternoon from 6 hours to 12 hour, nevertheless, we say it's mean to a chatchila, you should divide the Harabayim in 2 and 2.5. An hour, 2.5. Nimtzeis Omer Shetami Karbatation shows so Mexo, so Tamid is sacrificed at 9 hours and a half, 9.5 hours. It's finished. It's sacrificing 9.5 hours, and when there's a carbon to the Pesach, so then we adjust accordingly, and presumably because the Bein Arbaim is primarily said basically learned for Xer Shava. The carbon tumid, so therefore, when Erev Pesach comes out Shabbos, so then we Erev Pesach comes out. Not Erev Pesach comes Shabbos. So in Erev Pesach, we put the carbon tumid out earlier and do the Pesach itself between the 8.5 and the 9.5 hours. So picking up on this point, Rabbi Yosef said Shavar Rabbi Shimon Levi Reisha. He just said that tumid is carbon shows some mechza, but really he forsook the first time Ben Arbaim is mentioned in Torah, which is Pesach, which is why Tommy is learned down from Pesach, from a Sefer, and he focused on the Sefer the second time it's mentioned in Torah, the Sofa, the Korban Tamid, right? So we really should have focused on Korban Pesach, which therefore, when Pesach we come out the same day, the Pesach takes precedence in getting that slot of between the 2.5 and 2.5. I should note there are other pshatim in the sugya, Carbonator, for example, says that it's going on the Brisa, the beginning of the Brisa, and the Brisa, but I'm going with the Mechal HaMaim. That's his pshat here, and he says, and he goes on to say, the lochein, and the word lochein here is very difficult because normally the lochein means the locain in the Yerushalmi, because if not, and the Mashgiach points out here, it seems to mean the lochein, because it's not, carbon tumid is not primary, carbon Pesach is primary. And we really have a whole discussion of how we know carbon Pesach is primary. Okay, so before we said there's a Zeichel Dover. Now we're getting more into the idea of how we, in carbon Pesach itself, we can know Bein Arbaim is actually can connote the middle of the afternoon. Kadar Tani, like we learned, Chanani ben Yomer. Chanani ben Yomer says, Shemani Bein Arbaim. When it says the Shech base of Bein Arbaim, maybe it means Bein Haravel Shal Basar, Bein Haravel Shal Chamish Basar. Maybe it means the 24 hours between the eve of the 14th and the eve of the 15th. Right? Could be, right? Yocha Yom V'Layla B'Chlal, perhaps includes the day and the night. Tam Lerma Yom. No, it says day, so it has to be the day during the daytime. Let's find the exact pasuk. Yes, V'Yolchem Mishmeres Adar Basar Yom HaChodesh. Adar Basar Yom HaChodesh Hazeh Shal Tasol Kol Kadas Yisrael Bein Harabayim. So, I think, is that the pasuk? I think that's the pasuk. Yes, it is. Okay, Shuomer Yom, when it says Yom, Yotza Laila. Iyom, so if it's Yom, Yochel Shteshos B'Yom, maybe it's 2 hours into the day. I don't know if 2 hours is Dafka, maybe it's earlier in the day. Tamulom or Be'erev, it says Be'erev in the evening. I ba'erev yochel mishetech shach, like erev very often means after nightfall. And Tamalor bein arbaim. No, it says bein arbaim. So again, the pasuk says, "B'shachto so koka that's so bein arbaim." Over here, it just says bein arbaim, but it says in a different pasuk in Dvarim Tez Zayin Dalit, "V'lo chatzor b'chol gvucha shivas amim l'olim abosar shetizbach bo erev." So the first pasuk Shmos Yud Beis, and the second pasuk in Dvarim Tez Zayin. So it says there bo erev in Dvarim, right? So it says bo erev, that means not in the morning. But that it says bo erev pasuk in Dvarim may means from nightfall. Tamlom the pasuk in Shmos ben arbaim. Okay, it's a chaluk ben arbaim. So how do you learn it? Divide ben arbaim. Between those shtei shos and mechza fanav, shtei shos and mechza achrav. It's not erev mamish, right? It's not in the morning. So what do? You do it 2.5 hours before, 2.5 hours afterwards. B'shah chas li'isuko. You come and 1 hour to be involved. Nitzei omer, and here according to Mechamaim, you must change the girsa. Nitzei omer shah pesach kare b'teisha shos and mechza. The Pesach comes out in 9 hours and a half. In other words, you complete that lachrav b'sha'achas yisuko. In other words, afterwards, after the 1 hour, because it might be probably best to change the gears slightly, but it means that after you've been involved with it for an hour. Oh, the way to actually look at the article, the way he reads is kare b'teishos umechza and la'achrav. Right, it's also it's a state shows some mechza, b'shachas yisuko. So the words missing there. It should be teishos and it should be teishos. I guess it should be nitzos tamid teishos shows some mechza, and teishos mechza la'acharav b'shachas yisuko. I think he changed it more than that. Yeah, he changed it more than that. He changed it to shteshos umechza fanav shteshos umechza achrav shachas lu'tzuko. Nimtzeisa omer, and then it comes out that shatami karabitation shows umechza. Okay, so and then he adds on nimtzeisa omer shatami karabitation shows umechza. He adds on that that we have over here. No, we have the Mechamaim takes it out. The Mechamaim takes out the words because it's all going to Korban Pesach. But according to the article, I think the article is okay, even the Mechamaim, because it comes out that Korban Pesach, when there's Korban Pesach, that's brought at that time, and when there's no Korban Pesach, so then the Talmud is brought at that time. I'm not sure why the Mechamaim takes out those words. So Rabbi Yisrael, the Taimel mitzvah. It's a nice limud, but it's only a mitzvah. So I guess it's not an absolute. It's not an absolute requirement. So it's l'chatchila. Avalikuv, but the impediment. What's the bottom line? Hadai. It's this. It's the end we learn. Shachtu kaim chatzos possible. If you shachtu before chatzos, it's possible. La'chatzos miyad kosher. If you shachtu immediately after chatzos, even after in 6 hours, you didn't wait to 6.5. It's kosher. Kadam l'tamid kosher. Before the korban tamid, it's kosher, but not. It's the korban tamid should be rabbaim, obviously, but it's preferred to do it obviously after the korban tamid, like we said before. Okay, so now ask the Gemara. Fine. Yom b'shachris came. As I say also in the morning, we should do korban at bein habkarim, right? That should do it in the middle of the morning, not at the beginning of the morning. So the Gemara says that's precisely the point. The hachak ben arbaim. Here it says ben arbaim, right? It's the Islam ben batam ben habkarim. They have such a thing by a shachris. Never does no concept ben habkarim b'shachris. That's why we do it earlier. Rabbi Shimon made tefillos me avos lamdu. He says we learned tefillos from the avos. So some of the Farshim say that we should have heard the whole sugya from brachas, and some girsos evidently there was the sugya here with Rashi Tevos, and this is just the beginning of the sugya and the end of the sugya. That's what the next words mean. Av based in. Let's see. Mashbiach, I think, brings down what that means. But first, let's see the Karminator. Actually, it's reading. Sorry, Shem Levi. Obviously, don't do Ab based in. So the Karminator says, "Feels me. Obviously, do lots of karbanos. They didn't link it to karbanos. Lachem mispal mincha misheshos l'ma'am fil chatchila. Every time in mincha from 6 hours and beyond, from even chatchila, mashirin tamid chatchila b'ina dafka v'tesha shos umechza." So he's going to saying that we daven mincha from 6 hours and beyond, even chatchila. Well, actually, we do 12:30, not 12. Supposed to tamid because we disassociate tfilos and korbanos not connected. And after he basically says lo garsinole. So the Amudi Yerushalmi says obviously that's difficult because we have in Mesechus Brachos we have tfilos connected tfinim tiknum. So let's see the Pnei Moshe. The Moshe says. Shemleim at tfilos mi'avos lamdu leil brachos reish perak to sacha pli Rabbi Shimon Levi Silim mi'avos lamdu Rabbanan Mamrei tfilos tmim lamdu. So all is brought down here is Rabbi Shimon Levi Shita. Mishin Nakashi l'maydo shinach chaluk bein arbaim. According to this distinction, bein arbaim came lo asya command that tfilos median kamru. That tfilos shil shachar chatzos tfilos mincha erev. Right, we do shachris till chatzos and mincha till erev. Right, ze enos machil tummy. It's neither one's the time of the tummy. Like Rabbi Shimon Levi does say el bein arbaim chalkul l'shita seido azil. So he disassociates it to. It says bein arbaim is has to with karbanos and tefillos nothing to do with that. The mezban tefillos l'olam the avos the tefillos we learn for the avos. And then he says, Ab Beis Rin is the siman who l'mayda kamar hasam Avram tikein tefillah shachris. It's the Avram in stu shachris v'yashkem Avram ba'boker. Lamdu l'Avram tefillas l'Avram l'tefillas boker zo Av. Av is Avram boker. Ubno Yitzchak tikein tefillas mincha. V'lon michsiv lo suach basodeh. And learn from it says we went at lo suach basodeh and tzichel tefillah. Zo Beis Bno Yitzchak tikein. Okay, Klomar Maidik Siv Gabel if no Erev. So it says by him towards evening was Tfilas Mincha. Rin is similarly Yaakov. Should take into Tfilas Arvi. So long do we they learned out from that it says Vayivga Bamakom. Main Bgil at Tfilah Siv Gabe Rino Tfilah Tif Gabi. Because it says Bgil is considered to be Tfilah. We learn from the pasuk which says Rino Tfilah Tif Gabi. No Shas Bin Tzor there Chrem is with Simon. So here it's a Simon Rina. Yaakov, how was it, Simon? Big so Rin. I'm not sure how Rin stands for Yaakov. Rin, Yaakov, something. Just Rin is Rin in short for Rina, and we're supposed to know that it's Yaakov. Nagashat's Kam Biktsar Der Simon. Okay, so I'm not sure how he got to Yaakov. I couldn't figure out how Rin would be Rina, Yaakov, Nun, something. No, it doesn't say. No Kashas concerned Derek Remes is Simon. Or else it says Inami, based in Garcinon. Kimushkas the Circle Masimoncha, Rosh base Vakoin, based in. The Rosh, but just like the head of the base body is called based in. They should have Shakol made in menu. Because it's the father which you learn everything. Chachanu Lomdin at Tfilos Me'avos, so to learn the Tfilos from the Avos. Yes, so the Mashbiach says that in the Leiden manuscript, you have between the words lomdu, of those lomdu, and the word based in the following. And all these have little all these words have apostrophes in them, like as if they're Rosh Tevis, but they're not. Garas, learn here, ad until Lo rido so migdulaso, they didn't remove him from his gedula, Rabbi Ben Azariah. El minuo so based in, but rather they point to be based in. So because the scribe was lazy to copy the entire sugya, and therefore he just wrote that like Ayin Sham is a little more extended. Kares Ad, Gross Ad, Lo, Arido, something also, and we know so Basin, and all that made it into the actual text of the Gemara is Ad Basin. So this is all. It was all that. It's just telling you, learn the whole sugya from over here, there, over here. So again, the whole sugya is when they married Philos of Islamdu, and then learn the entire sugya until you get to the end, which is Ad Basin. Okay, so now I go back to our Mishnah, which said that when Erev Pesach comes out regular on a regular weekday or on Shabbos, it's the same time. Matar ben Bechol ben Shabbos on Erev Pesach, the arrangements are the same. Rabbi Shmuel, it's Rabbi Shmuel. Tani Kasidro Bechol Kasidro B'Shabbos. Just like the arrangements were on when it came on a weekday, so the arrangements were when it came on Shabbos. Steve Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva Omer. Kiva says that no. Kasidro Erev Shabbos, Kasidro B'Shabbos. Just like on when Erev Pesach comes out on Erev Shabbos, you make an hour earlier. So too on when Erev Pesach comes out on Shabbos, you make an hour earlier. So the question is, what's in the Nekudas HaMachlokas between the two of them? It's very what exactly means is very fascinating. I'm just going to read it and we'll explain it tomorrow because the way in Rav Shmuel makes an hour later because of its pepper or because of its pilpul, its lomdus. That's going to be enough in interpretation. Yeshua says, Akiva says, do it an hour earlier to be involved. So you shouldn't come into the mitzvah drunk from your Shabbos meal. Okay, but what pilpula means, that's a very fascinating discussion. That was like more. Harbe pilpulim namru beperusho. Pilpulim is said about the perush. And we'll mention how the Korban Ada says that it's the pilpulim means to answer all the questions and add the shilos and the shilos which will come out about. He says about come out of Pesach. A lot of shilos come up every year. So have to do it later so you can get through all the shilos. But the simple shot, I think, is that people here means pepper, like the other Mefarshim say, including I think the Pnei Moshe. He says it means it's going to get overheated, and he says it's interesting to read the Pnei Moshe. I don't think you necessarily have to learn it this way in order to understand it this way. It just means pilpul means flavor, but he wants to get into etymology and say Marishuv pula v'chimumo beitim so b'shas nazeh shemishtamesh l'shem pilpul l'chimum. It means he overheated. L'shem pilehu chazeh chazeh l'shem pilehu. Which means which means it has cracks in the body. She gets caused to get overheated. Because it gets heated, well, the cracks come as a result of heating. It means it's going to get overheated. Calling the Bavli Michmar Bisra. It's going to ruin. Because you can't roast it until nightfall. If it does an hour later. Okay, so that's the reason Rabbi Shmuel. So again, I think that you don't have to learn until it's going to get overheated. Just learn because the pilpul means the pepper, the taste, the flavor. And he's afraid if you, since you're now allowed to roast the Motzei Shabbos, the taste is going to get worse, and therefore push it off an hour if you can. Whereas Rabbi Kiva holds you have to do it an hour earlier. Why? Because otherwise people will have a longer meal on Shabbos. They're going to have time to get drunk. And that's a cheshish that they're going to do the mitzvah when they're not in the proper frame of mind. So you have to do an hour earlier to make sure that people didn't get too distracted by the Sukkot Shabbos and the shirchus thereby, and they're doing the mitzvah of Korban Pesach in their proper frame of mind. Okay, so we actually did the first couple lines today, and for relative to the previous days, it's a pretty short day anyway. Stop here.